Hello, it is Melchan, and welcome to the T-69 review, Tier 8 American medium tank with an autoloader version being the other one. So let's look into the armor. I have a long ass replay, so let's make this quick. So, first of all, what the fuck did they do here? Looks as random as it is, really. Upper plate, 102 armor, not slow to wear. Well, won't get more than 175 here, no matter how you look at it. So, lower plate 64, nothing really to talk about. It's a soft hull, turret ring, pretty shitty. No matter how many parts there are here, they're all shit. And the actual turret itself is as random as it looks. There's some 300 zones, near to the gun there's 100 zones. There's 190 here, through 250 here. It's random as shit. That is all you need to know. When you shoot the T-69, the best place to shoot this shit is in the hull or in this turret ring. Try to avoid shooting this shit. As you can see, it's just unpredictable what's gonna happen. Like 104 next to that 260, random as shit. Soft stats. Let's compare it to a Russian tank as we always do. Where the fuck are the Russian tanks? T-44. Soft stats, aiming circle spread. Worse than Russians in any category apart from full speed traversing. Probably because the traverses were worse. Yeah, there we go. It is. Term resistance actually worse than as on the T-44 as well, so is the power to rate. Well, whatever, as I said, long replay, so let's get into it. Joining shit in action, as I said, extremely long replay, so might as well cut it off a bit. Playing range try encounter with tier 10 game. I have coded optics on this, the mini-map is not correct in the replay, sorry about that, but it just doesn't work. Being in my bush, trying to spot whoever tries to cross the river. This is a really nice spot since you can see people coming across the river if you're here fast enough, and you can spot the campers that tend to sit in C 8 to 9 and those kind of areas, like on the other side of the ridge that's across the river. You can spot those quite easily from where I am. So what is the T-69 all about? Well, it's an autoloader, that's the first thing. The gun is utter trash though, that is something to note. First of all, if you don't shoot heat with this gun is gonna be a pain in the fucking ass. You can pen people when you actually have time to aim at them, but when you have to rush your mag out to not get shot by something of a higher tier so you don't lose all your health in like 3 shots, this tank really struggles. Like, the tank you need to compare this is the 5100, the other tier 8 autoloader, and the differences are huge, and this tank just falls behind almost in every category, which is kind of funny. So, let's start comparing. 5100, 1408 points, T-69, 1350. Top speed, really similar, 51.5 on the 69, 51 on the 5100. Backward speed, 20 kilometers an hour. Load limit on the tanks, 5100 is much heavier, but it has much better power to weight ratio. It has 850 horsepower engine compared to the really bad 550 horsepower engine on the T-69. So a 5100 is actually faster. The reverse speed on that is slightly worse, 32 degrees per second compared to the T-69's 42. But terror resistance is really similar. 5100 falls a bit behind, but that's not enough to cancel out the huge, well, the kind of huge, well, not really huge, but the power to weight differences. View range 400 on the T-69, one of the best features about the tank, while the 5100 only gets 380. Now let's compare the guns. Maybe the T-69 can come back at the 5100 having a better firepower, but no. 240 average damage per shot, while the 5100 has 300. Penetration on T-69, 173, which is probably the worst penetration on any tier 8 medium or heavy, while the 5100 has 232, which is one of the highest of any tier 8. Well, I think it's third highest after the Lobe and the T-34, but I might be wrong with the Lobe there. What else there's to note? So the DPM, they both are autoloaders, but DPM is still an important number. So at 60, T-69 has a slightly better DPM, and by slightly I mean by around 50 on stock values. But you can buff it up with the ventilation and burst snaps and whatnot, then the difference is going to be around 60. So let's talk about the magazines and shit in these two tanks. So T-69 gets 4 shots, reload between shots 2 seconds, aiming time 2.9 seconds, accuracy 0.38. While 5100 gets 6 shots, 2.2 2.73 seconds reload between shots for some fucking reason. Oh, accuracy 0.36 and aiming time 3 seconds. As you can kind of tell, the T-69 gun-wise falls far behind the 50-100. I mean, it reloads the magazine almost 2 times quicker than the 50-100, but, well, it is around 2 times quicker than the 50-100, but 50-100 has the potential to one-shot any other tier 8 tank, and it can do a lot of damage to any higher tier tank as well. It can one-shot tier 9 tank destroyer, well, one-shot, kill in one magazine. So, yeah, 50-100, the big advantage of the T-69 gun-wise over the 50-100 is the gun diversion, -9 degrees and +14, while the 50-100 only has -5 and +13. Gun elevation on both of these things are pretty damn awful, so watch out for that on El Holoof or whatnot. And obviously one thing we cannot take away from the T-69, the armor on this tank is much better than on the 50-100. 50-100 is made out of paper, while this tank can have reasonable bounces on the turret as long as they hit the good RNG parts, not the bad ones. So yeah, what I'm trying to tell here is that the T-69 is a bad 50-100, and well, kinda true, but in the same time they're not really the same tank, but it feels like a T-69 struggles a lot with this shitty gun, and the 50-100 is way superior in almost every way, which is kinda sad for this tank. But then again, when you grind this, you might be loading full heat and then the tank is gonna be reasonably good. The penetration was nerfed to like 250 with heat, which is gonna be good enough to pen the flat parts of a tank, of most tanks, but when you have to shoot angled parts, you're gonna bounce off just as you would bounce off with AP, so that is something to watch out. But yeah, the strengths of the tank: good view range, good upper turret armor, and obviously the autoloader, but the gun is weak if you don't shoot heat, there's no doubt about that, and it can pen weak spots obviously, but the accuracy of the gun is just so bad that it fails to hit the weak spots most of the time, even when you're aiming right at them. So equipment I would use on this tank is gotta be coated optics, reverse stabs, and either gun leg drive or ventilation. That's kinda up to you, I guess, but I would go for for ventilation. The gun is bad, so you might as well just spam those rounds and reload faster than actually aim and still bounce. Because most tanks you just kind of tend to spam your ammo and then fuck off before they shoot you back, which is probably the right way of doing things in this tank. Crew skill wise, 6 cents, and every stat that helps aiming. Every stat that keeps you reasonably mobile as well, like smooth ride and so on. Clutch braking is nice as well. And obviously the view range skills. 400 meter view range, as I said, is really good base to build up on. There note, if you're one of those people who are really worried about their statistics and shit, this tank is not a one to farm VN8 in, because there's a lot of people that are farming while playing this tank only with heat, and if you don't play with heat, you will struggle a lot to keep up with the damage expected in this tank. It is around 3k to be Unicum and shit, so if that is important to you, I would not recommend to play this tank for fun, if you actually care about those kind of things. Unless you're one of those people who just spam heat, and then 3k damage is not that hard to do with 250 penetration on this gun. But one thing the T-69 gets going for it is the potential. Every tank that has an autoloader has really high potential to do a lot of damage and not get shot back. You just have to wait for your opportunities. You have to look for your opportunities. What I'm doing here now, I've been driving forwards and backwards here for quite a bit now, and that's how you kind of have to play autoloaders. You can't really be the frontline guy where you have no retreat. You always have to be behind at least one teammate that you can retreat from. The tank is, even though it's not very fast, it's probably the slowest medium in tier 8. I might be wrong here, but it really feels that way. Panther 2 might be slower, but it will struggle a lot to run away if you're in the front line. But if you stay at least behind one teammate and make sure that the enemies will have to kill him first before you, then you're gonna be in a good shape in this tank. But that is something to remember. You do not, and you should not be in the front line in this at all. Always look for opportunities to flank your enemies. The gun is gonna perform really nicely when you shoot people in the side. much better than when you shoot them in the front. And yeah, you can like see how bad my shooting is, how bad the shit I expected. And the thing is, it's useless to go trade now. The 50B spend like what, 2 shots at that guy? Well, what am I going to do? I'm gonna rush him, I'm gonna shoot my 3 or 2 shots, whatever I had left there, and then what? Then he's just gonna rush me, reload faster than I will, and kill me. So I'm just notice the threat and run away right away. I'm now thinking, should I go on the 0 line and try to flank them that way, or should I just go back to the hill and try to help out the I-7 to clear the cap so I can actually focus on one flank at the time? And it seems that the right play is to help the cap first and then see what happens. So yeah, to sum up the T-69, the gun is shit, but it has an autoloader, so it kind of gets away with it. But I mean, the thing about the shitty autoloaders is that they have a lot of potential, but it is not easy to use it, and it can be really frustrating. But then again, if I had to choice of a mediocre gun on a medium tank, like for instance, if I had a choice between the T-44's gun on this or this gun and autoloader, I would always go for this gun. I mean, the fact that it gets that autoloader alone and that damage potential is really nice. And notice the bad shooting. So my mind says aim at the center mass, and my gut say set him on fire. And this is what happens when you try to aim at like an engine of a 50B. You shoot above, below his turret and above his engine deck, and that can happen quite a bit in this tank, and it's really frustrating. And like, you just have to aim your shots a bit more than I was here. But then again, this tank is something to get used to. I would not recommend to switch between this tank and something else all the time. You really have to get into my mindset of playing this tank. It is really, the gun is not forgiving at all. It tends to fuck you up all the time, and now the I-7 dies, the 50B dies to the I-7. I have 3 shots left. I'm just gonna go for that SU, try to spot him. I have all my health. I haven't lost a single point of health, and this is where that health can be useful. Just going in, closing the distance between myself and my enemies, and trying to spot them. And obviously, I'm just arrived at the bush, and why shouldn't I be spotted, right? Missed 2 shots completely, nowhere even near, and obviously go for a reload. You tend to go for a reload a lot before you even finish to unload your clip, which is, I guess, understandable when you only have 960 potential damage, or 940. No, it's 960, I think. By the time I'm gonna be arrived, I'm gonna be reloaded as well. That is something you should try to do in this tank. Whenever you reload, try to relocate, unless you have like, oh shit, I will be able to shoot this guy whenever I get there. Pick up this kill, get ammo rack, so reloading now is not an option. Shoot once, because I know that 2 shots are going to be enough to finish this guy if I don't fuck up. Maybe I should not have fired that shot on the move. Get called down, and he's actually going to YOLO at me. This is not a good shot. The sidearm on that tank is quite good, not in this angle though. And that E75 finishes him off and kind of saves my ass. Then again, if that Object 430 would have killed me there, that would be kind of amazing. Gonna speed shit up here. As I said, the replay is long as fuck, so let's go hunt for some Artie in fast motion. Do you say fast motion? You probably don't. Well, I do. Fuck you. And the scumbag is sitting in the corner, so let's go and finish that off. Good tank for killing Artie, T-69, obviously, because of the autoloader. So here's the end plate, 2290 experience with premium, no doubles, obviously. 4385 damage down, 1807 assisted, ace tanker. Duh. But yeah, if you ever played a crappy autoloader at your lower tiers, like just a crappy gun, but with an autoloader, you kind of know how the T-69 feels. It has a lot of potential if you can make the autoloader work, but you tend to miss a lot, you tend to bounce a lot, and it can be really frustrating, and that's why a lot of people just load full heat and just troll along, but it feels much more satisfying when you have good games with AP, even though I cannot feel really satisfied about that game because I made quite a bit of bad shots there, even though, like, you can blame it on the gun, but, like, the misses on 50B should not happen, and I should shoot better, and I should know better. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one.